Welcome back. So one thing that we like to celebrate is that there is all different types of family. Just because you're born into family, doesn't make you only family. There could be other options like foster, adoption. There's a lot of different ways.
Yeah, there's all different ways that people become parents. And that actually brings us to our next guest. We are going to be speaking with Catherine Rock, and she is from the organization Key Assets. Hi, Catherine. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well, thank you.
Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, your company works in affiliation with Children's Services.
Yes.
And you are about facilitating fostering.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So our organization works with children's aid societies when they don't have enough foster families in their own system to be able to care for children. They'll often call a private organization like Key Assets.
Yeah.
And so we often get calls for children and youth that may have more complex needs, whether that's they've experienced severe trauma within their own family of origin, whether they've experienced adoption breakdowns, whether they have some special needs or learning or developmental challenges. So they will call us and ask us if we have a match. It may also be that a child needs to be in a specific school jurisdiction because we don't want to disrupt school, because that may be the one thing in their lives that has been consistent and has been positive.
And this was a surprise to us too, because we didn't realize that there are any private organizations who also assisted in the fostering process.
Absolutely. There are a lot of private agencies that do foster care, and which is surprising because actually there is a shortage of foster care across the province and the country, that we really are in desperate need of foster families. You may have seen stuff in the media about Newfoundland or PEI, and Ontario is just the same. It's just not publicized as much that there is such a need.
I was going to say, why do you think that is? Is it just awareness?
I do believe that very much that it is about awareness, and not all families are understand really what foster care is about and how that impacts their lives and their children. So I think that certain families are also raised in a culture of, you care for your cousins, or you have that, and not all families do that. In fact, we have a lot of West Indian foster families that foster. It's very common for them to care for their cousins or sisters or brothers, whereas white families don't necessarily do that as much. So, but there is a need all across the board for foster families from all different cultures, because when a child comes into care, you want them to be placed with someone that looks like them, eats the same foods that they do, attends maybe the same church. So a Muslim child in a Muslim home, for years what would happen is that a Muslim child may come into care and they were put in a Christian home, and then they would attend Christian church. So they'd lose all that culture and identity that's so important to everybody to have.
What other things are you looking for in regards to foster parents when you're out there?
Well, we like to say stickability. That's our first kind of criteria, where families are not going to give up on our kids, because again, they've had trauma in their own families. Their parents or their extended family haven't been able to care for them in the way that they need to, or something's happened that they've come into care. So sticking with those kids, because they're going to have all kinds of behaviors or challenges. They're going to have a hard time attaching.
And that's
to
probably
brand new
been one of
caregivers.
their biggest difficulties previously, is that people haven't stuck it out with them, right?
Absolutely.
So there must be major sensitivities there.
Absolutely. So they may be trying to push families away. And so some of our kids can have other foster siblings, or the biological parents of biological children of the foster family could be in the home. Some of our kids really don't do well with other kids because of their trauma, that they need all that attention. They need someone to just love them up and take care of them. And so families that are young, that are vibrant and active. We have lots of families that come to us that are older, that have raised their own children. They're off to university and they're empty nesters, and it's time they want to give back and they want to have that. But we also need families that are, going to soccer or baseball or hockey, or
so that child can have the full experience.
Absolutely.
I also think too, even before you have your first child, if your life is, if you're capable and able to do it, what a great way to, be able to foster a child before you even have your own kids.
And what people don't always understand is that actually there is a per diem for caring for a foster child, so that, it's a great way for a mom to be able to stay home with her own children, because you do get a per diem that can help to support you and caring for your own child as well. So most of the money goes toward the child, but it also allows you. And we do lots of training. So you learn.
I was going to ask you that.
We do attachment training, fetal alcohol syndrome, behavior management. So all those things that are going to help you with your own kids as well really, really help.
So what I think, sorry, I was to say, I think that some parents, might be apprehensive because they're not quite sure if they're ready or capable or have the tools that they need to be a good foster mom or dad, right? And so you really help them overcome that.
Absolutely. When someone calls us to say, I'm interested or I'm curious, I just want to learn about it, we'll get to know kind of certain things about them and their family. So for example, our foster children don't share a bedroom. And then we invite them to come to a training. So we do 2 full days of training that really says, this is what it's all about, because it's not easy.
No.
You know, it's very
being
different.
A parent isn't easy.
Exactly.
So fostering a child can't be easy either. You have to be committed, right?
Absolutely. And so, you know, a foster child's had all that trauma as well coming in. So it's really important that we, you know, do everything we can to support them. And so that training is really key. And then when we do the training, we do a whole assessment process. So really it's kind of about telling us about their whole life story. And so some people may think, oh, well, you know what, I had alcoholism in my family, or I myself may have been an alcoholic, or things like that. But sometimes the experiences that people have overcome and you know, worked through, that's what makes them the perfect match for a child. So we're really clear, we're not looking for perfect families. You know, we have people who have been in care themselves, who have worked with us. We have people that have, you know, parented their own children and their kids didn't have a lot of behavioral issues or whatever, or they've raised siblings or whatnot. So all walks of life.
That's an interesting point that you make. The one thing that you might think makes you not good enough to be a foster parent might actually be the one thing that makes you the greatest foster parent.
Most definitely.
Right? Because who is perfect in this world,
Yes.
you know?
Oh, absolutely. And so that's part of our assessment process, that we get to know about you, but we also get to know what fits for your family. So a child maybe who's been sexually abused may trigger, because maybe foster mom was sexually abused. That may not be the best fit, or it may be exactly what she needs, because she now knows how that child...
She can understand and knows how to take care of that child properly.
She's going to be able to work support. So let's say the children do come up with some, you know, issues down the road. Are the parents provided with continued support later on?
Absolutely. So with our agency, Key Assets, again, because we have kids that have some more challenges, we have child and youth workers that go out and work with the kids. So they kind of work with the kids through daily life events. So, you know, they go and they're playing basketball or they're playing a game, or they may do anger management, specific counseling and work with them. We also have a therapist who's attached to our program, and our therapist works with the foster families to help them understand clinically what the child has gone through and what their experience has been. We have education consultants. Every foster family has a social worker attached to them.
I was going to ask you, so there must be visits that occur with a social worker as well. So beforehand, though, like getting into the actual process, like if someone decides that it's something that they're curious about and interested in, how long does it generally take to go through the training and then to become a foster parent?
So it can take 3 months or 6 months. It depends. Now, each agency has their own process, but there are things that we're mandated through the Ministry of Children and Youth Services to do. So we have to do our assessment process. We have to do police checks, children's aid checks. We have to do references, and again, our written assessment, and the health and safety of the home, all those kinds of things. Because, you know, if it was your child or nephew or niece or someone that went into care, you want to know that that child's going to be cared for. So it is a very intensive process.
That's good.
And then absolutely, once the child is in our care as well, for some families, we talk about it's kind of like living in a fishbowl at times, because we want families to share with us what's going on in their own family, what challenges maybe their kids are having, because foster placements can break down because the foster family's children don't like fostering, because maybe I'm losing attention from mom or something's going on. So part of that process includes, you know, learning about the foster family through the initial phase of assessing the family, but as well as ongoing, that we want to make sure that we support the children in the home as well.
This is such an important topic, and thank you so much. I feel like we could talk for a really long time. Knowing that any child is in need is something that we could just talk about forever, and we want to get all that information out there to people. So thanks so much, Catherine, for speaking with us. And we'll put your website below, so if people want to look further into what you're doing, they can do that. So stay with us.
Up next, we will be speaking with Melissa Reed of Bliss Counseling about how to be an attached parent when maybe you weren't an attached child.